Now you are viewing full screen, no? Hello? Very good
Yes,
morning
sir.
to all.
Good
See,
morning,
once
sir.
you come across the security aspects, essential factor of the security, in addition to the various software development life cycles, comparison with the SDLC with the security software development life cycle, we have a risk, we have a danger level of events which are used to occur. How we can easily manage if any sort of a constraints which are providing a lot of vulnerabilities which are adjust to the whole system of information, how we can understand, how we can assess, how we can maintain, how we can manage. These are the things we'll discuss today. Risk is the very essentially a potential that a given threat will automatically exploit various type of vulnerabilities of a property, especially any sort of a property of a resource of a system in a entrepreneur, in the organization, in an organization, in the organization, the education, the institution, wherever it may be, a chances of a properties, a group of properties used to be how best way which are going to be harm to the organization. The definition what it says, if any sort of a potential event which are going to be exploit a different type of vulnerabilities, especially for the property, especially for the group of properties, and which cause much more harmful to the organization or anywhere else. We can call it as a risk. How we can manage the risk management? The process of first you have to be recognize, you have to be authenticate. We can call it as process of identification or identification, and we can say identifying, then controlling and minimizing. Is it possible to quantify? Is it possible to optimize? Which are going to be a dangerous to the system. Then you think about how best way which are going to be reduced, minimizing, optimizing, or eliminating a security risk which are going to be affect a whole set of system or a information system or a information security system with a certain acceptable a cost in the sense time sense also, cost in the sense managing resources bound also, and also how much financial commitment which are going to be ruled out. These are all a clear identification once the process starts, and you have to be controlled, think about minimizing, optimizing, reducing, and finally a chances of eliminating also. These are all the various levels of a risk, especially security risk, in order to harm or the access of the whole information system. And especially this assessment of a risk which are going to be implementation, certain procedures are there, the practical levels of procedures which are there, how which are easily implemented and without any throughout of a different type of risk factors are there. Suppose you take a case study with respect to how we are going to be managed a software related security, data security, network security, system security, internal security, like that way. If you choose a different type of a security, one to another, a different type of a parameter and metrics you have to use. Certainly, you have to be assess the whole risk process and the implementation of a certain procedure and the practices designed to control, which are going to be reduce the level of a risk. There should be assessment also. See, once you managing, what is better performance of the risk assessment of a threat to impact the and vulnerabilities of an information and information processing facilities, how which are going to be actively usable in the system, in the security system, and the likelihood of their presence, occurrence, availability, all are going to be considered for the risk assessment. Identification of the risk, once again, you have to be recognized which type of a dangerous events, which type of vulnerable events, and is it possible to go with a certain procedure of analysis of a risk or risk prioritization. That means which one is comes first. If you take into consideration like a user level type of a risk, system level of a risk, kernel level of a risk, hardcore level of a risk, soft core level of a risk, which one is the most priority one, and we have to follow certain terms of the exposure and try to reduce those things. Is it the measuring level of finding a quality events, a quality analysis, we can call it a risk assessment. Here also, we can make sure such a way that how the recognition, how the processing facilities which are all available and how which are going to be occur for the effect of harmful vulnerability in the security. You have to understand. And generally, risk assessment, certain steps which are involving. First and the foremost is comes under the risk management. One you can say risk assessment and then followed by risk control. Risk assessment consists of the identification, decision driver analysis, assumptions of analysis, decomposition. That means to say, if you are identifying a certain event which are going to be make an harmful, then which are the decision driver analysis, and is it any certain assumptions are there, and how we can find out the loopholes, how we can find out the vulnerability, how we can find out the stealing authority of the data, the system itself only, and is it possible to analyze. Now some of the standard tools are available. I'll tell you some standard tool, like if it's a packets which related to, similarly if you are going to be steal a packages, so there, is it possible to decompose? That means to say, once the analysis of a decision factors, analysis of certain assumptions, so is it possible to make a decomposition? And similarly, risk analysis, there should be time models, there should be a network model, there should be a coherent model, there should be a certain level of models which are going to be take a decision factors such a way that how best a risk analysis is going to be for good assessment. One among a cost models within the bracket we can say a time factor models. How much time is going to be take if you are going to be described like a some sort of a standard risk model, a reference model, is it like a generic model, like that. And then network analysis. See, once we decide the models of like a client server, peer-peer, topological aspect model, and also a generic model, what are all the nodes connectivity, what are all the correct, which comes to a picture. That's why a network analysis, you have to be analyze the characteristic features, what are all the responsibility if any sort of a threat which are going to be happening, and a switch is acts like a node. Once again, switch router, node, communication lines, all comes to a matter, network analysis. A decision analysis, you have to decide such a way that where exactly we are able to get the level of risk. That's called decision analysis. Quality factor analysis, I told you a different type of parameters measuring metrics values we can use for analysis of various type of hazards, various type of dangers. We can call it as metrics or a quality factor analysis. But after identifying, after recognizing, after analysis of the risk, then how we can find out which one is going to be most priority one, which one is going to be the most vulnerable one, which one is going to be more suitable one, which one is going to be more accessible one, like that way. You can say risk leverage, component risk reduction. Still further, suppose you have multiple number of a component which are going to be used in a various network, in the various switches, various devices. Is it possible to reduce those things which are not going to be incorporated, which are not going to be applied for the risk factors? Then we can consider based on the priority, you can say the process of that one is prioritization, risk prioritization, risk identification, risk analysis, risk prioritization. These are all the three different certain steps which are there in order to understand what is meant by risk assessment. See, once the risk assessment is over with the help of a different type of a parameter or a metric, so then how we have to go for controlling the risk? Planning go. Certainly, you have to plan such a way that is it possible to make a filter? Is it possible to make a firewall deploying? Is it possible to fix a slot such a way that these are the user can log in this during this period? During that time, you have to be block the gateway. These are the different type of a risk management plan. Risk avoidance, even though which were entered within the organization, which are entertaining from the outside the organization, with the help of various users who are the manpower within the organization, agents, who we can say, who are the person who are a third party. If it comes risk avoidance, even though risk entertaining, dangerous which are going to be entertaining, hazard which are going to be happening, how we are going to be avoidance. Transfer, that means to say which one is going to be reduced best way, which one is going to be eliminate first and the foremost, and which one is going to be access the time cost related, which one is going to be understand the periodic level of a model approach, like that. And you have to be distribute corresponding risk to different type of devices, so in the form of hardware component or else a software level. Eliminate planning, that means to say you have to go with like activity setup, status level of a setup from each and every component, how they are going to be controlling the risk. Plan integration, once the level of procedure which are involving for a controlling of various risks. So, one among from the planning go, followed by the avoidance, transfer, reduction, and eliminate planning go, then there should be plan of integration. That means to say each and every level, is it possible to control the risk? If not, is it very easy in order with the help of integration of a plan of a risk control, we can easily reduce the risk, or we can easily eliminate the various type of hazards are happening. Those are the process involved, procedures, steps involving in how the risk management planning is going to be take place. Resolution. We can have a standard level of a set of instruction packages. With those things, we can easily simulate the processing simulations. We can identify, is it possible to resolve These are the type of risks are going to be happen with the help of a simulation study. Is it possible to adapt to the real-time application? Is it possible to adapt to some case studies? Benchmarks. That means to say tools are available. You have to be restrict within the boundary and you have to be set up a benchmark. These are the resolving of the various type of risk analysis factors. So various type of a planning options. So various type of a decision analysis. So quality factors. So all the thing it comes under how is it possible to resolve. We can set up a standard benchmark. Known factors to understand with the help of a simulator is another one. Similarly, with a set of instruction benchmarking ready to be useful further. Correct. Now, these are the references once again. Analysis, same as it is in which way the analysis happened in case of a risk assessment, like that way risk control also. While resolving, there should be analysis once again. Staffing, that means to say how best way you have to be managed with the executive level of a staff who are all involving. Is it possible to resolve with the help of various type of events? The risk monitoring, and you can easily trace which are the most prioritized one from the risk assess management to top 10 ranking go, and you have to say that one these are all the best, worst, medium level different. You can track risk assessment and the corrective of action. Once the factors which are going to be harmful from any sort of a risk or any sort of a hazards or any sort of a dangerous event, is it possible to take corrective measure of an action, not to present, not to be once again take a future risk in coming imminent days, like that. This is called corrective measure of an action. In order to manage, there should be certain type of vulnerabilities. There is a threat matrix, capabilities of threat versus type of vulnerabilities. I mentioned very clearly long back, like if you have like a security with respect to computer, or security with respect to network, or security with respect to operational, or security with respect to personal, correct? No. In each and every case, the threats and the capabilities and the vulnerabilities are different one to another. Similar to the risk assessment or a risk analysis factor. Same as it is in which way the threat matrix available, like that way we can plan a different type of a matrix value for assessment of a risk. You can call it as some of the example. If you have a time, you can just go through. These are all like references, need not worry. A process of accessing a risk, taking step to reduce it and access in a very expectation level, very useful level, no problem at all. Once this type of a risk factors arise, how you are going to be acceptable and what way of the maintaining that level of a risk. Some of the standard 5 principles which are there, you can say principles which are going to be make use for assessment to control, analysis, planning, resolving, all which comes to a matter. Based on that one, risk management having a standard 5 principles. One among assess risk and determine needs. See, you say most of the time why the dangerous type of an information which are automatically hitting the device. Need not worry about what way the power supply, what is the backup. But anyway, while communicating, while interacting, while interfacing, the chances of how we can identify the needs of that. One is under that axis risk and determine the needs. We can say recognize the importance of protecting information resource assets. We have to be very cautious if its memory is going to be vulnerable, a disk is going to be vulnerable, user is going to be dangerous. Similarly, what are the software packages you are going to be dangerous? Then we have to recognize the importance of protecting information resource assets. These are like assets. Think about best way of how which are going to be important further. and in order to protect. Develop a risk assessment procedure that link internal assessment, especially to business needs. We have a different type of assessment procedure which are available, correct? Easy, which are very effect to the whole system security and whole system information flow. That is a develop a risk assessment procedure that link. See, we have to be create such a way that suppose we take an example, internal assessment of whatever the program which are going to be. Correct. No? We should shoot for a managing an examination processing system, which are not going to be useful, which are not going to be needy of that, then no use at all. Like that way, whatever the risk management procedure which are going to be developed should link to the internal asset, or you can say internal asset, internal assessment. Basically, main purpose of that one, what are all the needs of when business or education, whatever it may be. What purpose the security which are going to be set up. Hold programs and manage accountable. That means to say regularly there should be set of program which are going to be executable and overall involving, overall the responsibility, overall the people behind managers should be accountable. That means to say we have like a chairman, we have like a faculty, we have like a student, we have like a different CR. Correct? No? Each and every person have their own responsibility. Should hold their according to the level of a position as some sort of a program and should be manageable and accountable. Manage risk on a continuing basis. See, there should not be a breakup. There should not be a discrete level of today you are just, then later you are going to be. And you have to identify what sort of a effect are needy to this particular system. That one is a first principle. First principle, what it says, one is a recognition, a developing, and how we can just hold a set of instruction package programs, a managing accountability, and manage a risk on a continuing basis. Establish a central management focus. You think about, see, we have a system of information flow, you have a data center, you have a computing facility, you have a computer, whatever it may be, correct? No? Establish a central management focus. Designate a central group of key activities. See, wherever it may be, the data which are going to be focused and the flow through the system of information, then we think about, is it possible to make a central group of a key activities. Take a common factor which are going to be useful for all users. Provide independent access to senior executive to the group. See, there should be level of accessibility, permittivity, and the how the privilege usage of each and every user and should go from the low level to the high level, senior executive to the group. Designate dedicated funding and staff. Very essentially, how we are going to be managed. If you say focusing on the central management and what sort of a component which are going to be required, designate dedicated funding exclusively for managing a security risk management. You have to spend a lot of money for the equipment. There's a designate dedicated funding and staff. Periodically enhance staff technical skills. See, today we don't have like at present a transistor level of systems which are going to be storage. We have to be stored on the cloud environment. Suppose our data is, you have to be imagine, you are through Google, you are through Amazon, you are through like a Snapdeal, you are through like a Flipkart. How, what is a guarantee for this one, all those things, correct? No, that's why periodically you have to enhance staff technical skills. Ourselves only, need not be staff like a different person, overall involving, overall accessing, overall user friendly, regularly, periodically, and you have to be update our skills. Any sort of vulnerabilities happen, any sort of threats happen, any sort of a risk happen, you have to be in a knowledge of managing various type of these dangerous events. Establish a central management focus. That means to say First and the foremost, setting up the central facility, and you have to be provide a very privileged access facility from the low level to the high level, no? And you have to be think about how best way the funding, financial support for the equipment as well as the staff in order to designate. That means in order to recruit, we can say. And finally, periodically enhance the technical skill. You have to be thorough. See, we are not in at present using like a Internet Explorer. Nobody is you not very rare, but you are using like a Chrome. You are using like a Edge, which are all the browsers are available internet. Correct? Now, system may not be compatible, but how best way I can just manage through a link. Today, all classes are going with like a webinar online. Is it which are all well suited for? If you go with like a low end, impossible to get through the online, both audio and video. Like that way, you have to be very strong and well established a skills of the program which are compatible. Third one, implement appropriate policies and related controls. Is it possible to provide a corresponding policies which are highly related to the control? That means risk controls. Link policies to business risk. Suppose we have a business management of an entrepreneur, business management of a share marketing, similarly education, whatever it may be, and you appropriately you have to link to the corresponding policy to the independent business risk. Differentiate policies and guidelines. Policy which are going to be a plug such a way that very essentially the documentary evidence such a way that which are referred by further in future days. Guidelines you have to be take some suggestions. Correct? Now these are guidelines and the policies are different. These policies are from the organizing authority or a technical body. They used to make standard of procedure to manage for a risk, to manage for risk management resources. But a guidelines we have to be follow according that one. No, overall X has to do this work, Y has to do. If X is doing, what sort of a policy is there in a government gazette like that way? Support policies via the central IA group. Once again, there should be a policy documentary, whatever the documentary evidence which are there, and we can get through from the team or the internal who are all there available to manage various type of resources. Implement appropriate policies and the related control with effective usage from the proper guidelines of the policies. The fourth one is promote awareness. Promote awareness. Without that one, educate user and others on the risk and related policies. There should be some sort of an awareness of the system. And you say others on risk or related policies are there. Is it possible to gain one to another? You can use for the 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, whatever it may be, correct? No? You have to code properly what sort of a class which belongs. Use attention getting and user friendly techniques. So, and who are all there, correct? No? Promote awareness and how best way you are ordered to get through the user-friendly techniques are available to us. Similarly, monitor and evaluate policy and control effectiveness. Some of the indications of various type of factors as a policy matter, evaluating one to another, how best way you can make use. Result to detect, direct, and you can make use a feature effective of that one. How to hold accountable and what sort of a monitoring tools or the technique you can make use. These are a different type of principles available in order to manage risk factor of risk management. Similarly, what are all the standard framework which are available according to the organizing authority? You can say National Institute of Standards and the Technology, who are all available. How we can make sure that one? You can just go through some of the audio slides which are available. You can make sure that one, need not worry. And Federal Information System. So similarly, who are all there in order to provide a complete information system which related to risk and risk management. And finally, A summary of the whole risk and the risk management. One among like a threat to vulnerability and risk are defined the enemies, the information systems and their motivations. So how best way which are going to be effective, useful or harmful, we can say. Types of damages are classified. Types of damages classified based on the network security, based on the user security, system security, and how we can just go through. And is it some standard level of an examples available? Different vulnerabilities and threats are described at a deep. We can make use for how we can understand one to another. Some of the references in order to manage like a big list of information security vulnerabilities. So top 10 database security threats. So, and we have given like a list of information and whole set of a risk and the risk management flow provide a complete picture about how we can understand a security, need of security, security expectation, security overview, all the things. And just I concluding with the cyber security and the security aspect. Just after completing of this one, we'll go for second unit which are available. See, once you say the risk is going to be affect to the economy, risk is going to be affect to the where you are using, especially in the military organization, risk is going to be affect to the transportation. I conclude what type of a dangerous, what type of hazard which are going to be ineffective and affect the whole set of various type of resources. From the beginning, like financial level risk. Similarly, military, open defense. Similarly, transportation. See how you are finding. Suppose something goes wrong from the farmer, what way you are going to be get the food, correct? No, these are you have to be taken into consideration. Is it possible to manage the level of resources without any sort of a risk? Then you think about medical, how you are facing a nature beginning, correct? No, because of today what we are facing a lot of problem face to face because of the pandemic situation. A minor virus, a microvirus automatically made us to not to be in a way of moving one location to another location day to day of our life, not in a real time way of life, but virtually, because of how is it, what sort of risk which are available, correct? No, just take without mask, without maintaining distance, so without sanitizing, correct? No, these are all various type of risk how which are going to be effective not only my surroundings also, and moreover the whole family also. Similarly, government, how which are going to be support for various type of facilities or resources to government. Telecommunication, correct? No, if you are using like a heterogeneous system of communication, no, how which are going to be managed with a laptop or desktop or supercomputer or cellular phone or simple device, correct? No, how the risk which are managers to provide various type of risk management of energy sector. You can say energy in the sense underline like electric energy, solar energy, wind energy, all which are factors of infrastructure which related. These are the various levels of the aspects information, and gives a risk management which increase the utility of information to unknown person, no way concerned to the organization, is not a third party, and ultimately reduce the utility of information those unauthorized. These are all the things with respect to how we can understand what is meant by risk factors and the risk management. The fundamental of the I just already I told information assurance, information process which are involving, and especially in physical security, a system of security, how which are going to be component based, restrictions, connectivity, communication facility, and the protocol strategies all comes to your physical security. Similarly, which transmitted a data, and while transmitting the data, a chances of tampering, chances of stealing, chances of vulnerable, and is it possible in a static way, in a dynamic way from the network security features. Similarly, communication security through the use of various mechanisms can be considered broadly as a part of network security. A device what we are using, a system what we are using, what sort of a connectivity of the access point to, how which are going to be manageable, all comes to it. That means to say routing mechanisms with the help of a standard device like a router, how which are going to be completely secured, a full-fledged session which are going to be established for flow of an exchange, how the threats or the risk which are happening in case of a software security, even though you are using without any stealing of a data in case of a communication security, network security, physical security, but how best way in case of software security also broadly, especially the platform what we are using, is it possible to set up a security, is it possible to set up on the usage level or the application level? No. What are all the tools are available? We can say Wireshark is there, Map, Nmap is there. Some of the standard tools are there. We can just, if time permits, I'll explain to you later. But these are all the information which related because of how the security threats which are in the form of potential danger information, three levels of a cyber threats. Maybe a understanding a user level, not in a position to understand a user level, and moreover standard level of highly structured, we can say that one internal and the external threats to information security can classify various. There should be a, from the kernel to the high level, we can say physical component. If you find out like how the layer approaches of a security, some of the standard terminology which related to the risk, threats, vulnerability. If you take any sort of an organization or any entrepreneurship or educational institution, in all cases, RTB, that means to say risk and the threats ultimately, and the threats and the vulnerability which are going to be steal are the insecure flow of a data. Types of a damage, one is an interruption, interception,